How can just 5 minutes in the middle of a vast ocean completely decide the outcome of a world war? It sounds impossible, right? But in June 1942, that's exactly what happened. A single naval battle, a massive clash of strategy, intelligence, and just plain luck changed everything. This is the incredible story of the Battle of Midway, a turning point that was built on a brilliant plan and an even more brilliant counterplan.
So this was the thinking of the commander of the Japanese Navy, Admiral Yamamoto. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, he absolutely knew that Japan's window of opportunity was closing fast. He had to land a knockout blow on the U.S. fleet before America's industrial giant could fully wake up and just overwhelm him with sheer numbers. The clock was ticking.
Japan's entire path to victory hinged on one tiny but unbelievably vital target, Midway Atoll. It's this American base sitting almost perfectly between Asia and North America. If Japan could take it, they could potentially cripple the U.S. Navy for good.
Okay, so Yamamoto's plan was, well, it was intricate, and it relied completely on the element of surprise. First, an airstrike would pound Midway's defenses into dust. Step 2, an invasion force with 5,000 troops would storm the islands. And here's the kicker, the crucial third step. When the American fleet inevitably rushed from Pearl Harbor to help, Yamamoto's main fleet, hiding just over the horizon, would spring an ambush and annihilate them.
And the tip of this giant spear was Vice Admiral Nagamo's first carrier striking force. I mean, this was the very same fleet that had just devastated Pearl Harbor. We're talking about 4 of the most powerful aircraft carriers in the world: the Akagi, Kaga, Hiryu, and Soryu. On paper, this naval armada looked absolutely unstoppable.
But Yamamoto's genius plan had a fatal flaw. A flaw he couldn't see, one that was being quietly exploited thousands of miles away in a secret war being fought not with ships, but with whisters and codes. Yeah, way far from the action, Commander Joseph Rochefort and his team at the Combat Intelligence Unit were waging that secret war. These guys were the unsung heroes, code breakers working around the clock in a windowless basement, piecing together tiny fragments of intercepted Japanese messages, hunting for the key to their entire strategy.
And by March of 1942, they did it. They pulled off one of the greatest intelligence victories in military history. They had cracked enough of the Japanese naval code to see the whole picture. They knew the target was Midway, they knew when the attack was coming, and they knew the full strength of the Japanese force. Just like that, Yamamoto's surprise attack was no longer a surprise at all.
So imagine this incredible intelligence report landing on the desk of Admiral Chester Nimitz, the commander of the U.S. Pacific Fleet. He's literally holding his enemy's entire playbook. And you know what? Nimitz wasn't just going to defend Midway. Oh no, he was going to set a trap. See, part of Yamamoto's plan was a fake-out, an attack on the Aleutian Highlands way up north to draw the U.S. fleet away. But Nimitz knew it was a bluff. He just ignored it. Instead, he concentrated all of his available carriers, the Enterprise, the Hornet, and the USS Yorktown, which had been, and this is amazing, miraculously repaired in just 48 hours from damage that should have taken months to fix. He sent them to lie in wait. The hunter was about to become the hunted. Now, as the Japanese fleet sailed, Yamamoto actually got a piece of intelligence suggesting American carriers might already be in the area, but he was terrified that the U.S. was listening in, which of course they were, so he made a fateful call. He kept his fleet under strict radio silence. He never warned Admiral Nagamo that his most important weapon, the element of surprise, was already gone. Okay, so on the morning of June 4th, the battle begins. Nagumo launches his air attack on Midway, just like he'd planned. But the first reports that come back suggest the island's defenses are tougher than they thought. And this puts Nagumo in a terrible bind. This is basically the message Nagumo gets. His planes are coming back to refuel, and he has a choice to make right now. Does he rearm his next wave of aircraft with bombs to go hit the island again? Or does he arm them with torpedoes, just in case enemy ships show up? And here's the thing, every minute his crews are on deck swapping out bombs and torpedoes, his carriers are sitting ducks. Meanwhile, flying high above the Pacific, U.S. Lieutenant Commander Wade McCluskey is facing his own impossible choice. He and his dive bombers from the USS Enterprise had flown to where the Japanese fleet was supposed to be and found nothing but empty ocean. He's dangerously low on fuel. The smart call, the safe call, is to turn back. But instead, in a move Nimitz later called one of the most important decisions of the battle, he took a huge risk and turned his squadron northwest, just on a hunch. And McCluskey's gamble paid off spectacularly. At 10:22 a.m., his squadron dives out of the sun, catching the Japanese carriers at their absolute most vulnerable moment. Decks just packed with planes, fuel lines, and live bombs. They hit the Kaga. 2 minutes later, bombers from the Yorktown smash into the Soryu, and then Nagumo's own flagship, the Akagi, is hit. In less than 5 minutes, 3 of Japan's 4 mighty carriers were turned into raging infernos.
So just like that, the heart of Japan's naval air power was gone, in a flash. But the fight, it wasn't quite over yet. There was still one Japanese carrier, the Hiryu, that had escaped the first attack, and she was ready to strike back.
Planes from the Hiryu launched a fierce, desperate counterattack, and they found the American carrier USS Yorktown. They hit it hard with bombs and torpedoes, leaving it crippled. The crew fought like hell to save her, but the ship was eventually abandoned and sank a few days later. The victory at Midway was definitely not going to come without a price. But later that afternoon, American planes found that last Japanese carrier, the Hiryu, and they left it a burning wreck. The final tally was just unbelievable. Japan sailed into this battle with 4 of its best carriers. It left with 0. The United States lost 1. For the Japanese Navy, this was a catastrophic, irreplaceable loss. And when you look at the final numbers, you really see the whole story. Japan lost 2,500 servicemen, and that included hundreds of their most experienced pilots, veterans whose combat skills were simply impossible to replace. American losses, while tragic, were just a fraction of that. The scale of the victory was truly staggering. So why do we call Midway the turning point? Well, it completely slammed the brakes on Japan's advance across the Pacific. From this moment on, they were on the defensive. For the US, it was this massive morale boost, proof that the Japanese could be beaten. And maybe most importantly, it showed the world that good intelligence could be just as powerful as any weapon in your arsenal.
And that just leaves you with this one final thought. The entire battle turned on a couple of key decisions, incredible acts of bravery, and a single brilliant intelligence breakthrough. What if Yamamoto had just broken radio silence to warn Nagumo? What if McCluskey had decided to play it safe and turn back? It really makes you think how the entire course of history can hinge on just a few crucial moments.